Yes, welcome to the Biz Communication Show. I'm your host, Bill Lampton, once again talking with a recognized business communication expert so that you and I can get tips and strategies that will boost our business. Our guest today is Rich Bartolotta. He's a strategic partner with Schooley Mitchell, a consulting firm widely respected for its expertise in reducing operating expenses for companies. Rich helps business professionals transform their expense dollars into profit dollars. And so he has earned his moniker, the Profit Magician. Rich began his professional career with IBM Corporation, working at several U.S. locations and in Tokyo. During his 8 years in Japan, he spent time with NASDAQ, EDS, and IMS Health. We're going to talk to Rich today about business communication lessons he learned in more than 3 decades of executive leadership. Rich, welcome to the Biz Communication Show.
Thank you, Bill. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Rich, when I look at your more than 3 decades of leadership and even on the international scene, I'm quite sure that you as an executive have come across major communication problems from time to time. And you were an effective executive because you found workable solutions to these problems. So in the 20 minutes or so that we have today, let's look at some examples of situations where you as a chief executive faced a major communication problem. Give us some examples and what you did to solve them. So get started with an example, please.
Sure, Bill. I mean, as I was getting ready for this, I guess I was kind of thinking about just things that make sense in communication in general. And I would tell you, in everything that I've ever communicated with teams and employees, I think there's three things that you want to keep top of mind. I think, you always want to be honest with people. I think you want to show people respect. And as much as possible, you want to show some empathy for the folks you're talking about and
That's an
talking with.
excellent combination. And I'm very glad you started with honesty because integrity is the key to effective, one of the great keys to effective leadership. And we all know that if you're ever caught in an exaggeration, or let's be flat out straight about it, if you're caught in a prevarication or a lie, regaining that credibility is just an almost impossible task, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So one thing is, I mean, I had the pleasure, as you mentioned, over a long career of promoting a lot of people. And, there's sort of two sides to the same coin when you're talking about promoting somebody and communicating with that. And, the first thing is the person that's being promoted. If you step back and think about it, they're obviously excited about getting a promotion. They may be nervous about new expectations. They're certainly proud of what they accomplished. So, to me, when I'm talking to a person that has been recently promoted, I want to start by affirming what got them the promotion, right? Starting by communicating the things that they did so effectively that we as a leadership team wanted to recognize them, for that. At the same time,
So you're building their confidence. You're helping to build
confidence
their
up, and
confidence at the outset.
then you need to set expectations again, right? Because with the promotion comes more expanded responsibilities, and you want to make clear what the new expectations are for that person, and have a very frank discussion around that. The bar has been raised, and this is what it's going to take to continue to be successful.
And
Um,
this prevents a couple of months later the person who's been promoted saying, "Gosh, Rich, I didn't know this was involved. I didn't know you were. I didn't know I had to do this, or maybe I wouldn't have taken the job." So this is a good preparative and preventive measure,
you know,
isn't it?
it is, and I remember when I became an executive at IBM, the guy that promoted me said, you need to you need to not become like Napoleon. And he kind of was saying when people become an executive for the first time, oftentimes they go in and they really look like they're trying to change the way they operate, and they're becoming more dictatorial in their approach. And his advice was really, don't let the title go to your head. Don't let the power supposedly go to your head. Remain true to what you are. So I think it's good advice. It's good to set expectations and remind people what they did to get there so they continue that, help them understand that the bar has been raised. And I think I encourage people to ask for help. Too often times people will get a promotion and they're sort of afraid to reach out and ask for help when maybe they're struggling a little bit.
As though that would be a sign of weakness or inadequacy.
Exactly. And it's not. It's just, we all face challenges. Some of them we've got a lot of experience with dealing with those challenges, and others might be the first time. And you want somebody to feel like they can reach out. The other side of the coin, Bill, is, how do you communicate with the people that didn't get the promotion?
Because there's a
To
lot of
me,
disappointment there, and maybe some resentment.
and maybe embarrassment, right? I know I've thought oftentimes I was going to get something in life, and I certainly shared with Peggy, hey, good news, I might be getting a promotion here. And then
As
you
a
come
guy
home
would be delighted to tell his wife, yes.
and you come home and you have to say, hey, I didn't get this, and you're a little embarrassed and you're disappointed. So I think there it's important to show the person respect and that you appreciate what they do and the job they do. And even though they didn't get the promotion this time, you certainly appreciate them and what they do. I think it's also important to share with them why they maybe didn't get the promotion, right? What do
Because they're
they
wondering that anyway, aren't they?
they're wondering that. And I think the key there, Bill, is that should not be the first time you're having that communication with them, right? If the first time I'm telling you need to be a better communicator is when I tell you you didn't get the promotion because you're an ineffective communicator, I failed as a leader, right? I need to be telling you what you need to do to advance and to continue to be successful. And you shouldn't hear it the first time I'm telling you you didn't get, a promotional opportunity, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Let's get back to a very important point you've made. All of them are, but this one stands out especially to me, that when a person gets a promotion, all of a sudden they think they need a new persona. Maybe they've read some management books, or they've attended some seminars, or they've watched some videos, and they think this is how managers need to be. And that's why, Rich, in my observation, one of the words that's become so important in business communication for quite a while now is the word authentic. People want somebody who's authentic. We don't want role players. If we want role players, we'll go watch a movie. I was going to say we'd go to the theater, but we can't do that. We'd watch a movie on television, and we want to watch role players. We don't want actors. We want real people who are just the same people, basically, that they were before they got the promotion, right?
I agree with you, and I think that's that comes back to honesty, and oftentimes I think maybe more so in today's business environment than when you and I started out. I think maybe there's a reluctance sometimes to be upfront and honest because you say something that offends somebody indirectly, or you're going to say something that somebody will use against you. Let's take a situation maybe where you have to fire somebody, right? What do you say to that person in that situation? You might be nervous about and choose your words very carefully because they may come back at you later on and use what you said to them against you. But I think you have to be careful about that. But I think we err on the side of being too cautious, and then we lack transparency and authenticity, as you say. And I think there's a way to balance risk and being upfront with people.
I think what you have given us so far, what to say to the person who has gotten the promotion and what to say to those who did not, that's very valuable. And that's a challenge to an executive. What would be another one that you might think of?
Well, I mean, thinking about, firing somebody, right? Unfortunately. And I mean, unfortunately, for a lot of people maybe listening, that's a reality in this COVID economic
In
environment,
the
right?
last 12 months, it's been an incredible reality.
Having to let people go. And I mean, I've let people go, and in some cases they were relieved. In some cases they were shocked and mad and embarrassed. So you really never know what kind of emotional reaction you're going to get. But I think, again, if you come back to being honest, showing some empathy and respect to the individual, you're going to get through it okay. And I think in that situation, I want to be very factual with the person. You're being let go for the following reasons. And I always tried personally to offer support to them. If it was something that I could do for them beyond what the company was going to provide to them. But I always wanted to communicate, unless the person was terminated, Bill, for cause, right, where they did something, fraudulent or violated company policy in a very serious manner.
And probably it
Absent
had some warnings about those items.
Yeah, absent that, I would always personally offer to help somebody if I could with, a recommendation, because oftentimes people that are losing their job are not necessarily losing it because of their own fault. And in COVID, you would imagine a lot of people have lost positions, nothing that they did wrong. It's just, unfortunately, the environment and the economic reality of it. So, being honest with people, being able to show them respect, and that you understand what they're going through, I think is very important.
I love that you yourself personally, individually, outside of what the corporation would expect of you, that you are willing to go beyond maybe what's written in the manual that you should do for someone who's being let go. And it is a critical time in anyone's work life. And I know decades ago, in a very different world, that was not the norm. In a very different world, there were many people, probably a great majority, maybe 80%, who, if they got a job or when they got a job, they probably recognized that they would be in that job and maybe even in that location and maybe with the same people until they got that gold watch. And that was a reality in many businesses and industries, but that's history, isn't it, Rich?
Yeah, no, it's changed so much. It's changed so much, and but the basic principles. I mean, when I started at IBM, one of the basic principles was respect for the individual, and that's timeless when you think about it. Not only in business but in personal relationships. I think if you show somebody respect, even in a difficult situation, even if you're communicating on a difficult topic, first and foremost, people want to be dealt with respect, and the way you would want to be dealt with. And if you do that, I think you're going to have a much more effective dialogue with somebody, an effective discussion, even on a tough topic, like having to let somebody go. And it's tough, but being honest and being respectful of the person goes a long, long way.
Yes, it does. Rich, with your vast international experience, we have time for one more question, and that would be what type of major communication cultural change did you find that you had to adjust to as an executive?
In Japan, I had to listen a lot more as an
I would imagine.
executive. I think, uh, I think as as American business executives were sort of taught to, you said it earlier, not show any weakness, be very deciseful, and so for me, it was really learning how to step back a little bit and listen to what somebody was saying and truly try to understand the message that they were trying to deliver to me before I shifted gears and started to go off to try to solve the problem. So, I learned to be a much more effective listener in my time in Japan, and probably to be, a lot more humble in my time in Japan. So I think that is probably one of the better lessons I learned over there.
That's a great worldwide lesson, isn't it?
It is, and you say it often, right? It's a challenge to really be a good listener. We always want to jump in, and oftentimes we're thinking about what I'm going to say while you haven't even finished the point you're trying to make.
That's
And
right.
just sometimes stepping back and pausing a little bit and absorbing what somebody is saying can really go a long way to becoming a more effective communicator.
I think that was one of the most valuable points that you've made today. We talked about not when you become an executive, you don't have to change. In fact, you should not change entirely your method just because you have the opportunity to be a top down person. What you found was most effective was, yes, those layers are still there, but get through the layers by welcoming other ideas, even ideas that went against yours.
Yep. And again, I come back to, where we started. I think honesty, respect, and empathy go a long, long way to being an effective communicator in a variety of situations.
That's an excellent way for us to wind it up. Rich, thank you so much for being with us. Valuable comments and observations about how to become an effective executive, whether you're in the US or you're in Japan or wherever you are listening. These are guidelines that Rich and other insightful leaders have demonstrated really work. Rich, I know that there are those who want to get your contact information, would love to get in touch with you. So please tell us how to do that.
Yeah, I think, Bill, thank you again for the time. And I always enjoy our discussions, and I learned so much from you over the years. So I appreciate the opportunity. Best way to get in touch with me is just give me a call at my office number, which is 678-436-5740.
Thank you for that. And I will guarantee our listeners that Rich is a very, very approachable guy. And if he doesn't respond instantly, he'll probably be on the second nine holes. So he'll respond after that. And since Rich has given his contact information, I'm glad to give mine. Bill Lampton, the biz communication guy. So logically, my website is B-I-Z, bizcommunicationguy.com. You'll find all my contact information there. Also, you can review my services for corporations and leaders and sign up for my online weekly newsletter. Rich, to pull this all together, any closing thought?
Well, Bill, I mean, I think we covered it. I appreciate always the opportunity to speak with you, and I learn learn a great deal from working with you. I mean, honesty and respect and empathy, you demonstrate that, every time I see you, whether it's personally or professionally. So it's always a pleasure to spend time with you.
Well, that we have a mutually beneficial professional relationship and friendship too, and I never beat you at golf, but I got over that. Okay, thanks so much to those of you who joined us on the Biz Communication Show today, either the video portion or the podcast. Be with us again next week. Thanks again to Rich Bartolotta for being with us, and again invite you to be with us next week for another edition of the Biz Communication Show. I'm your host, Bill Lampton, the Biz Communication Guy.